The axe bit into the log with a sharp crack that echoed through the pines like a gunshot, splintering wood across my boots. I froze, heart slamming against my ribs, as William straightened up, sweat gleaming on his forehead under the fading sun, his blue eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made the world tilt. "James," he said, voice rough as gravel, "if you keep staring at me like that, I'm gonna think you've got something to say, and God help us both if it's what I suspect." That swing wasn't just chopping firewood. It was the first fracture in the dam we'd built between us, roommates for 2 years in a cramped Seattle apartment, sharing beers and bad jokes while I buried my secret deeper than these Olympic National Park trails. William Hayes, All-American quarterback from some podunk Oregon town, straight as the I-5 freeway, with a laugh that could disarm a bomb and arms that hugged too tight after late-night Xbox marathons. Me, James Whitaker, barista by day, aspiring graphic novelist by night, gay as a rainbow flag on Pride weekend, and hopelessly tangled in feelings for the guy who thought bromance was just a word for our Friday rituals. We'd planned this camping trip as an escape, me from the city's relentless grind, him from the ghosts of a recent breakup with his high school sweetheart who'd bailed for a tech bro in Silicon Valley. Bro trip, he'd called it, slapping my back hard enough to bruise, oblivious to how his touch lingered in my dreams. Now, 3 hours into the hike from the trailhead, our packs heavy with tents and trail mix, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and possibility, I wondered if I'd survive the weekend without cracking. The trail snaked upward, roots twisting like veins underfoot, and William led the way, his flannel shirt clinging to his broad shoulders from the mist. Seattle's rain followed us even here, turning the path to mud that sucked at our boots. "You good back there, Whit?" he tossed over his shoulder, using that nickname that always made my stomach flip, like we were kids trading comic books, not grown men dancing around unspoken truths. "Yeah, just admiring the view," I shot back, too quick, my voice laced with sarcasm to mask the truth. He chuckled, deep and easy, the sound bouncing off the ferns, and I hated how it warmed me from the inside out. We'd met freshman year at the University of Washington, him majoring in civil engineering, me in fine arts, bonding over a mutual hatred for dorm food and a shared obsession with old westerns. 2 years post-grad, scraping by in Capitol Hill, we'd crashed together in a one-bedroom with a view of nothing but brick walls. Rent split 50-50, chores on a whiteboard, and a pact. No drama, no bullshit. But drama had been brewing. Last month, after one too many IPAs at the Pike Place dive bar, William had draped an arm around me during a story about his ex, his breath hot against my ear, and I'd nearly spilled it all. Instead, I laughed it off, blamed the booze, and spent the night sketching his profile in my notebook until dawn. Now, out here with no escape hatch, the isolation felt like a spotlight. We broke into a clearing by late afternoon, the Hoh rainforest unfolding like a scene from a Tolkien fever dream, moss-draped maples arching overhead, sunlight piercing the canopy in golden shafts. William dropped his pack with a grunt. "This is it, man. Home sweet mud pit," he grinned, that lopsided smile that crinkled his eyes, and started unpacking the cooler while I pitched the tent, my hands shaking just enough to fumble the stakes. As the sun dipped, painting the sky in bruised purples, we built the fire pit ringed with stones scavenged from the riverbank. William struck the match, flames licking up greedily, and we settled on logs with cans of Rainier beer pulled from the ice. The crackle filled the silence at first, But then he leaned back, elbows on knees, staring into the blaze. You ever feel like life's just waiting for the other shoe to drop? Jimmy? I sipped my beer, the cold bite grounding me. All the time. Like you're coasting, but one wrong turn and bam, everything changes. My eyes flicked to his profile, the firelight carving shadows across his jaw. He nodded, slow, like my words had hooked something deep. Tell me about it. That breakup hit me like a freight train. Thought we were solid. You know? High school sweethearts. The whole picket fence dream. He cracked his knuckles. A habit when he was raw. But she said I was too safe. What the hell does that even mean? Too safe for what, adventure? Risk? His gaze shifted to me, probing. You get that, right? You've been quiet lately. Like you're carrying your own freight. My throat tightened. The fire popped, sending sparks skyward like tiny confessions. I could lie, pivot to some bullshit about work stress at the coffee shop, but the words clawed up anyway. Yeah. Complicated. People see what they want, but inside, it's a mess. He waited, patient as the forest around us, and for a heartbeat, I imagined saying it. It's you, Will. Always has been. Instead, I stood, brushing dirt from my jeans. Race you to the river for trout? Loser cooks. He laughed, the tension snapping like a twig, and we scrambled down the bank, rods in hand, the moment shelved for another beer-fueled night. Dinner was charred trout wrapped in foil, eaten straight from the coals with our fingers, grease slick and satisfying. William told stories, exaggerated tales of college pranks, like the time he streaked the Husky Stadium field during a rainstorm, his voice weaving through the dusk like smoke. I added my own. The night I accidentally dyed my hair green trying to cosplay for a con, and we howled until our sides ached, the sound chasing away the encroaching dark. But as stars pricked the sky, constellations I'd never bothered learning back in the city glow, the laughter faded. William pulled out his phone, no signal, of course, and scrolled through old photos, the screen's glow illuminating his face. Look at this one. Us at the Mariners game last summer. You with mustard all over your shirt. He zoomed in, thumb lingering. Good times. Ha! The best. My voice was soft, too soft, and he glanced up, catching the edge in it. The fire had died to embers, casting long shadows that danced like unspoken fears. He set the phone down, leaned forward, elbows on knees again. Jimmy. What's eating you? For real. We're out here. No distractions. Spill. The river murmured nearby, a steady rush that mocked my pounding pulse. I poked at the coals with a stick, watching them flare. It's stupid. Just feelings. The kind that don't fit neat boxes. He didn't push, just nodded, his silence an invitation. And damn it, I took it. Remember that night after the bar, when you hugged me? I didn't want to let go. He went still, the stick in his hand pausing mid-poke. Yeah. I remember. His voice was low, careful, like stepping on thin ice. Felt good, didn't it? Like home, home. The word hung there, heavy as the humid air. I risked a look, his eyes on me, not the fire, searching. Will I? But he cut me off, not with anger, but a question that shattered everything. What if it's not just you feeling that pull? The world narrowed to the space between us. The embers glow, and the raw edge of truth we'd both been dodging. Sleep came in fits that first night, the tense nylon walls whispering with wind gusts off the Pacific, my mind replaying William's words like a scratched vinyl record. What if it's not just you? Had I imagined the husk in his voice, the way his knee brushed mine as we zipped into our sleeping bags side by side? Straight guys didn't say shit like that. Not to their gay roommates. Not unless the forest air was laced with some truth serum I hadn't packed. Dawn broke gray and drizzly, the kind of Pacific Northwest morning that seeped into your bones. I unzipped the flap to find William already up, crouched by the fire pit nursing a fresh blaze, coffee percolating in a dented enamel pot. His hair stuck up in tufts, flannel unbuttoned over a thermal that hugged his chest, and he looked every bit the lumberjack fantasy I'd sketched in secret. "Morning, sunshine," he called, pouring steaming black into a mug. "Figured you'd need this after last night." I took it, fingers brushing his, the contact electric. "Last night." Yeah, no elaboration, just a sip that burned my tongue, fitting punishment for dancing too close to the flame. We ate oatmeal from packets, sticky and bland, while he mapped the day's hike on a crumpled topo sheet. Hall of Moss's Trail, easy 5 miles, but it'll feel like a cathedral in there. You in. Lead the way. Haze. Anything to move, to outrun the what-ifs clawing at my gut. The trail lived up to the hype, ancient cedars towering like green sentinels, moss carpeting every trunk and fallen log in a velvet shroud that muffled our steps. Sunlight filtered through in hazy beams, turning the air ethereal, and for stretches, we walked in companionable silence, broken only by the drip of residual rain or the trill of unseen birds. William pointed out nurse logs, rotting giants birthing new trees from their decay, and I snapped photos on my phone, framing him against the verdant chaos like he was the hero of my next graphic novel panel. "You ever think about this stuff?" he asked midway, pausing to lean against a mossy boulder, water bottle in hand. "How everything's connected. One tree falls, feeds 100 more. Cycle of life." "Man." I nodded, throat tight. "Poetic." "Suits you." He quirked a brow, and I elaborated before I could stop myself. "You're like that, solid, but with roots going deep. People lean on you without realizing." His expression shifted, something vulnerable flickering before he masked it with a grin. "Flattery'll get you extra trail mix. Wit. Come on. Race to the end." He bolted, boots thudding soft on the duff, and I chased, laughter bubbling up as branches whipped past. We collapsed at the loop's end, breathless and mud-spattered, collapsing onto a nurse log that cradled us like an old friend. Panting, he nudged my shoulder. "You're faster than you look. Must be all that hipster yoga you sneak in." Guilty. The proximity hit me then, our thighs pressed together, his warmth seeping through denim, the scent of pine and sweat mingling. I shifted, but he didn't, just turned his head, eyes locking on mine with that same probing intensity from the trailhead. "James. About what I said last night. I didn't mean to freak you out. You didn't. But necessary. Or maybe a little. Good freak. Though." He exhaled, long and slow, rubbing the back of his neck, a tell for nerves I'd catalogued over beers and breakdowns. "Look, I've been doing some thinking. Since the breakup, actually. Stuff I shoved down 'cause it was easier to chase the normal script. Girlfriends, 9 to 5 grind, the whole shebang." He paused, gaze dropping to his hands, laced with calluses from site work. But out here, it's like the noise quiets, and what's left? It's you. Has been for a while. My heart stuttered. A wild thing caged too long. Will. Nah. Let me finish. He met my eyes again. Steady now. That hug after the bar wasn't just bro stuff. Felt different. Real. And yeah, scares the shit out of me, 'cause I've never, you know. But ignoring it, that's the real coward move. The forest held its breath, mossy hush amplifying the pound of my pulse. I reached out, tentative, my hand covering his on the log. Rough skin, warm pulse, anchors in the green blur. I've been in love with you for a year, minimum. Thought it was one-sided torture. If this is you saying, it's me saying let's see. His fingers curled around mine, squeeze firm, and then he leaned in, hesitant, lips brushing my cheek in a ghost of a kiss that ignited every nerve. Not full on. Not yet, just a promise, soft as the moss under us. We sat like that, hands linked, until the drizzle picked up, forcing us back to camp with unspoken vows hanging between us like mist. Afternoon blurred into chores, filtering river water, repairing a tear in the rainfly with duct tape and curses. William hummed an old Springsteen tune under his breath. Thunder Road, fitting for the rumble building on the horizon, and I stole glances, memorizing the flex of his forearms as he lashed knots, the way his laugh lines deepened when he caught me staring. By evening, the sky cleared to a bruised indigo, stars winking like conspirators as we grilled hot dogs on sticks, char and mustard evoking backyard barbecues from childhood's worlds apart. Conversation flowed easy at first, dreams deferred, like my novel gathering dust on my hard drive, his stalled plans for a custom-build firm. But as the fire roared high, fueled by dry twigs we'd scavenged, the undercurrent surfaced. What if this changes everything? I asked, voice barely above the crackle. Back home. The apartment. Our friends. Hell. Your family. He poked the flames, sparks ascending like prayers. It will. But change ain't all bad. Remember that western we binged? The one where the outlaws ride off into the sunset? Messy as hell. But they owned it. His eyes met mine over the blaze. Fierce. I'm all in if you are. Jimmy. No half measures. The vulnerability in his tone cracked me open, and I crossed the fire pit in 2 strides, pulling him up into an embrace that started awkward, arms stiff, breaths sinking uneven, but melted into something fierce, his hands fisting my shirt, my cheek against his stubble-rough jaw. We held on, the world reduced to heartbeat and heat, until he pulled back just enough to murmur, "Your turn to say it. I love you," I whispered, the words a dam break. Straight, gay, whatever, doesn't matter. It's us. He smiled then, slow and sure, and kissed me properly, tentative at first, tasting of smoke and salt, then deepening with a hunger that matched the fire's roar. Hands roamed, exploring uncharted territory, the forest our only witness as clothes tangled and breaths mingled under the vast, indifferent stars. The kiss lingered like aftertaste, sweet and smoky, as we broke apart, foreheads pressed, laughter bubbling up in that giddy, disbelieving way of firsts. William's hands stayed on my waist, thumbs tracing circles that sent shivers racing despite the fire's warmth. Holy shit, he breathed, grin splitting wide. That was... Yeah, I echoed, dizzy, the forest spinning slow around us. We sank back to the logs, shoulders bumping, fingers interlaced as if afraid to let go. Talk turned tentative, mapping the uncharted, like how we'd tell our buddies at the local trivia night, or navigate the hallway high-fives that now carried subtext. Optimism fizzed like cheap beer, but under it, doubt simmered. His ex's voice in his head calling him safe. My own fears of being the experiment that fizzled. Night deepened, the fire banked to coals, and we crawled into the tent, zipping it against the chill. Sleeping bags side by side felt charged now, every rustle amplified. He reached over in the dark, hand finding mine. "This okay?" A squeeze, then pull, until I was tucked against him, his arm a heavy anchor across my chest. Sleep claimed us tangled like that, dreams a jumble of trails and touches. Morning brought birdsong and a tentative normalcy. Coffee brewed stronger than usual, eggs scrambled in a skillet over the flame. William moved with a new ease, bumping hips as he passed the spatula, stealing a quick kiss that left me grinning like an idiot. Day 2 Maple Glade Loop. More moss, less mud. "You game for detours?" His wink promised mischief, and I was all in, pack slung, boots laced. The hike started light, ferns brushing our calves like conspirators, conversation meandering from favorite dive bars to childhood fishing trips. His on the Rogue River with a stern dad who preached, "Men don't cry." Mine on Puget Sound with a mom who painted watercolors and whispered it was okay to feel everything. "She sounds cool," he said, pausing to snap a twig for his pocket. "Wish I had that." Dad's idea of affection was a nod after a touchdown. I squeezed his hand, brief but loaded. "You're rewriting the script now." "That's brave as hell." He stopped, turning me to face him in a sun-dappled hollow. "We both are." Then he kissed me again, slower this time, hands cupping my face as if memorizing contours. The built, heat coiling low, until we broke apart laughing, foreheads bumping. "Detour time," I suggested, voice husky, and he nodded toward a secluded thicket off-trail. What followed was clumsy poetry, fumbling with zippers on a bed of pine needles, whispers and gasps muffled by the canopy, his body solid and yielding under mine in ways that blurred every line we'd drawn. It was raw, reverent, the forest floor our altar, sunlight dappling skin like blessings. Afterward, we lay spent, tracing lazy patterns on each other's arms, the world remade in sweat-slicked increments. But euphoria has a shelf life, and it cracked on the return hike when William's phone, miraculously catching a bar near a ridge, buzzed with a text. He glanced, face shuddering. Sarah. Says she's in Seattle next week. Wants to talk." The air thickened, our easy stride faltering. "You gonna?" I asked, aiming for casual, hitting strained. He pocketed the phone, jaw tight. "Dunno. Closure. Maybe, or just stirring shit." Silence stretched, broken only by boot scuffs, until he added, softer, "Doesn't change this. Us." But it did. A hairline fracture. Back at camp, tension simmered under chores, him chopping more wood with extra force, me sketching feverishly in my journal, lines turning jagged. Dinner was quiet, salmon fillets flaking under forks, the fire our reluctant mediator. "Talk to me, Will," I finally said, embers reflecting in his eyes. "What's really going on?" He set his plate down, running hands through his hair. "Guilt, I guess." like I'm betraying the guy I thought I was. Straight-laced Will, chasing skirts. Not this. He gestured between us, voice cracking. And Sarah? She was my first everything. What if seeing her reminds me I'm just playing at something new? The word stung. A barb I hadn't braced for. Playing? Is that what this feels like to you? I stood, pace clipped to the riverbank, stones skipping under my throws. He followed, hands in pockets, posture defeated. No, God. No. It's real. Scary real. He stopped beside me, close but not touching. But I've spent 26 years building one life. Tearing it down? It's like that nurse log, necessary decay. But it hurts while it's happening. I turned, anger ebbing to ache. Then let it hurt. With me. Our hands found each other again, knuckles brushing the cold water. And he nodded, pull drawing me into a hug that mended the rift. If only temporary. Night fell heavy, stars obscured by incoming clouds. We made love again in the tent. Slower, more deliberate, bodies mapping apologies and affirmations. But sleep evaded me. Williams snores steady beside me, while doubts whispered, what if the straight roommate was right, and this was just a forest fever dream? Day 3 dawned stormy, thunder grumbling like an omen. We broke camp early, packs heavier with wet gear, the trail slick as betrayal. Banter flowed forced, kisses quick pecks that didn't quite land. Halfway down, in a switchback fogged by mist, William slipped, ankle twisting on a root, a curse ripping free as he crumpled. Shit, Will. I dropped to my knees, hands gentle on his leg, the swelling instant under sock. Can you stand? He tested, wince sharp. Sprained, maybe. Not broken, but weight on it buckled him against me. Arms slung over shoulders, our hike reduced to a hobble. Rain slicked our faces, mixing with sweat, the forest closing in like judgment. By trailhead, soaked and limping, we loaded the truck, his old Ford Ranger, faithful rust bucket, and silence reigned on the drive out, wipers slapping rhythm like accusations. We need to talk about home, he said finally, eyes on the blurring pines. It's not ending here. But as Seattle's skyline loomed, concrete jungle swallowing green escape, I wondered if the real storm was just beginning. The apartment hit like a cold slap, dank from days empty, mail piled on the mat, the hum of the fridge a mechanical heartbeat mocking our wild hearts. William eased onto the couch, ankle propped on pillows I'd fetched, ice pack from the freezer already melting. Feels good to be horizontal, he quipped, but his grin didn't reach his eyes. I brewed tea chamomile, his go-to for aches, and settled beside him, hand on his knee, the domesticity surreal after forest freedoms. Doc tomorrow, I said, practical mask slipping. Until then, Netflix and no heroics. He nodded, remote in hand, queuing up Brokeback Mountain, irony thick as the plot. We watched in fits, commentary halting. His scoff at the era's constraints, my quiet that's us, minus the tragedy, met with a squeeze that said not if I can help it. But nightfall brought the fracture. His phone lit up again. Sarah, persistent, a voicemail blinking. He hesitated, thumb hovering, then played it on speaker, her voice tinny and tear-streaked. Will, I messed up. That tech guy? Boring as hell. Come back to us, the life we planned. I miss you. Call me. The room tilted, her words a time machine yanking him backward. He paused it, face ashen. Jimmy, I don't. I stood. Retreat to the kitchen. Kettle whistling ignored. Just process. I'll crash on the couch. Door clicked shut on my bedroom, pillow muffling the sob I hadn't planned. Morning brought awkward coffee. His apologies mumbled over cereal. It threw me. The us she meant, it's gone. But hearing it stirred old shit. I nodded, walls up, sketching at the table to avoid his gaze. Work pulled me out, double shift at the cafe. Steaming lattes for hipsters who eyed my rumpled flannel like it was vintage chic. Tips were decent, but my mind wandered to mossy glades, his laugh echoing over espresso grinds. He texted mid-shift, ankles better. Dinner? My treat pizza. No X-talk. I agreed, the olive branch tempting. Evening found us on the fire escape, boxes balanced on knees, city lights twinkling below like distant campfires. Talk skirted safe, his site boss chewing him out for a late blueprint. My novel's latest dead end, but undercurrent pulled. Miss the stars, he said. Gaze upward. And you, out there. Unfiltered. Me too. Handover. Pizza forgotten. Led to a kiss that bridged the gap, fierce, forgiving, tumbling us inside to the couch where limbs tangled and breaths synced, reaffirming what words fumbled. Bliss rebuilt, brick by tentative brick. Days blurred. Me hobbling his errands on crutches, him editing my manuscript pages with brutal honesty that stung sweet. Nights were ours, slow explorations by candlelight, whispers tracing spines, learning rhythms like a new language. You're it for me, he'd murmur post-climax, fingers in my hair, and I'd believe him, the city outside fading to white noise. But betrayal brews quiet. A week in, his phone buzzed during a rain-lashed movie night. Sarah again. This time a photo, her at their old Oregon diner. Caption, remember our booth? Come home. He deleted it quick, but not before I glimpsed the trust splintering like that trailhead log. You met her? I asked later, voice steel over toothbrushing. Just coffee. Closure. He leaned in the doorway, towel around neck. Nothing more. Swear. Coffee turned to lunch, per his offhand update, then one drink that stretched to midnight. I paced the apartment, sketches turning savage, jagged lines of figures turning away. When he stumbled in, scotch on breath, eyes evasive, the dam broke. What the hell? Will, closure, or cold feet from playing house with the gay roommate? He recoiled, hurt flashing. It's not shit, Jimmy. It's me figuring out who I am. She gets that part of my past. The straight kid crap. You're the future, but I need to bury the ghost first. Bury it alone. Then, I grabbed my jacket, storming into the downpour, streets slick as my resolve. Capitol Hill bars blurred, shots of whiskey-chasing regret. A grinder ping ignored because it wasn't him. Dawn found me on a bench by Lake Union, soaked and shivering. His texts unread. Come home. Please. He was waiting when I dragged in, eyes red-rimmed, crutches discarded. I told her. Everything. She walked, called me confused. But it's done. His voice cracked, arms opening. I collapsed into them, the fight leaching out in tears and tremors. I'm sorry. No more ghosts. We mended messy therapy apps downloaded. boundaries drawn like topo lines. But the high came crashing at his family's Thanksgiving invite, Oregon road trip. His dad, the ex-Marine with Bibles and biases. "Come with," he urged over pie at a diner. "Fork midway. Show 'em the real me." Us. Trepidation knotted my gut. But love's a stubborn beast. We drove south. Ranger rattling with tension. Evergreens giving way to golden hills. His childhood home loomed. A rancher with flagpole and Ford truck in the drive. His mom hugging fierce. Dad nodding curt. Eyes appraising my city polish. Dinner crackled. Turkey dry. Politics spicier. His sister's kids shrieking underfoot. Wine loosened tongues. His dad cornered him in the kitchen. Voice booming. "That Whitaker kid, good egg? Or one of them Seattle types?" William's reply was steel. "He's my type, Dad. The one I love." Deal with it. The fallout erupted post-meal. Raised voices from the den. His mom's tears. Dad's ultimatum. "This ain't how we raised you, son. Fix it or don't come back." William stormed out, me trailing to the porch. Rain sheeting down. "Fuck 'em," he growled, punching the rail. "If they can't see you, us, then they're blind." But the wound festered. Drive home was silent fury, his knuckles white on the wheel. "Lost my family for this?" he muttered at a rest stop. Stars mocking overhead. "Worth it," I cupped his face. Rain-streaked. "We build our own. Starting now." Yet doubt seeded. Weeks later, a letter arrived, his dad's scrawl. Terse. "Praying you find your way back." William burned it in the sink. But ashes lingered like accusations. The climax crested unannounced. New Year's Eve. House party in a Belltown loft. Bass thumping like heartbeats. We danced close, his hands on hips. World blurring to us until his ex appeared. Sarah. Arm in arm with a mutual friend. Eyes locking on William like lasers. "Fancy seeing you here," she purred. Voice honeyed venom. "Heard you're experimenting." The room spun. William stiffened, grip tightening. "We're solid. Move on." But she leaned in, whisper audible. "Call me when the novelty wears off." He shoved through the crowd. Me chasing to the alley, puking up champagne and rage. "She's poison," I spat, wiping mouth. "And you?" Still chasing closure. "It's over," he roared, back to brick wall. "But you always assuming I'm half in." "Maybe I am scared, Jimmy, of losing you." "Yeah. But also myself." Words flew like fists. My accusations of betrayal, his defenses crumbling to sobs. "I love you, God. I do, but it's war. With everyone." He slid down the wall, defeated, and I joined. Alley grime be damned. Holding him as fireworks cracked overhead, mocking our shatter. January thawed slow, Seattle's gray skies mirroring the frost between us. We tiptoed around the apartment, polite coffees, separate beds. My sketches now abstracts of fractured skies, his blueprints smudged with eraser ghosts. Therapy helped. Separate sessions at first, mine unpacking years of hidden crushes, his wrestling the straight man script etched in bone. "It's like molting," he told me over takeout one night. Chopsticks paused. "Shedding skin. Hurts like hell, but necessary." I nodded, walls thinning. "We're both molting. Together." Tentative yes. And we rebuilt tentative movie nights with space between. Then closer. hands brushing remotes like olive branches. Spring crept in with cherry blossoms rioting pink along the waterfront. And so did hope. A weekend getaway to the San Juans, ferry rocking gentle, no axes or X's, just us kayaking emerald inlets, picnics on pebble beaches where seals barked approval. Out there, water lapping hulls, he turned to me mid-paddle, sun gilding his lashes. Remember the forest? That first kiss? I did, vivid as yesterday. Felt like coming alive. Still does. We beached on a spit, spread blankets, made love lazy under gulls' cries. Bodies synced now. No clumsiness, just reverence for the miracle of us. Back in the city, life asserted, my novel pitched to a small press, his firm landing a green-billed contract. Pride Month dawned, rainbow flags snapping from balconies, and we marched, hand in hand at first hidden in crowd, then bold, his thumb stroking my knuckles through cheers. His family, radio silence, save a birthday card from his mom, and signed but scented with lavender, crack in the wall. Betrayals echo faded, but scars textured. One night, post-bar with friends, our crew, now in the know, toasting to unexpected detours. Sarah cornered us outside. Solo, eyes hollow. Heard you're happy, she said to William, voice brittle. Good for you, no venom, just ache. And he nodded, arm around me. Yeah. Took work. You should try it. She walked away, and something shifted, forgiveness. Maybe, or just release. We drove home windows down, wind whipping, his hand on my thigh. That's the last ghost, he said, and I believed him. Summer baked the streets, our lease up for renewal. Over rooftop beers, city sprawl glittering below. He broached it. Bigger place? Room for a studio, your art, my drafting table. Make it ours. Tears pricked. I kissed him fierce. Hell yes. Fall brought harvest moons and milestones. My book deal. His promotion. A quiet ceremony at City Hall, vows exchanged over coffee steam. Rings, simple silver bands engraved from roots to stars. Friends packed the after-party. His sister flying in with wide-eyed kids who called me Uncle Jimmy, without blink. Winter circled back. Anniversary Eve finding us in the Olympics again. Same trailhead. Packs lighter. Axe traded for a thermos of spike cider. Fire crackled familiar. Stars wheeling overhead as we sat wrapped in a shared quilt. His head on my shoulder. 1 year, he murmured, fingers tracing my ring. From straight roommate to this. Wouldn't trade. Me neither. The forest whispered benedictions. Moss and mist guardians of our story. No high drama tonight. Just quiet profundity. The kind that roots deep. Weathering storms. Life's no western sunset ride. Its switchbacks and sprains. Betrayals birthed from love's raw edge. But in the clearing we'd carved, messy. Human. Defiantly ours, we found home. Not perfect, but real. And in America's vast, flawed heart, that's the truest romance of all. Two men, unexpected, unbreakable, writing there forever one shared breath at a time.